Hey guys, thank you for joining us for another exciting episode of YOML. This is the Year of Magical Learning podcast. So today we're doing part five. This is the final chapter of the book, How to Think Like a Monk. So let's get
No,
to the reflection.
yeah. I don't think we need to talk about it again. It's about thinking like a monk. Jay Shetty was a monk. He left the ashram and applied his learned behaviors to help other people. That's what the book's about. This is his guide to how to think like a monk and what he learned. This particular reflection is called Share the Elixir. This is the last installment, part five of this series of reflections for Think Like a Monk. So the author, at the end of the day, Jay Shetty, at the end of the book, as he's going through and talking about purpose and helping people like with some of these activities we did with like the 5 4 3 2 1 and being more present and spot stop and swap and and things like that, right? We're talking about how do we find our purpose, serve the pain you know best, kind of thing, right? Long story short, at the end of the day, it all kind of wraps up in this book around at the end, really to live a purpose driven life is it's all about service. That's what it's really all about. That's when you're living a purpose driven life, is when you're trying to serve others, right? A purpose driven life may start with serving yourself and serving the pain that you know best. Let's just pretend you start wherever you started and you did it for whatever selfish reasons you wanted to do it for. Maybe you just you felt like living a purpose driven life. You've heard from many people like this is a great way to live, and to keep yourself focused on tasks you really care about the most and yada, 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 so that's what you do. You try to seek out that purpose. And that's where most people's journeys start, right? Whether it's serving the pain you want, best, or whether it's just trying to find purpose in this world. But after that, eventually, once you've kind of tapped that, and that's hard, right? Like to figure that out. But once you kind of started to figure it out, after a while, you might have indulged yourself for a while about, this purpose-driven life for yourself. But really, it always ultimately morphs into, okay, how can I use this to help other people, right? And that's what we do every single day. That's what these conversations are for. They're to help ourselves, but they're also to help other people. Like Clubany is service. Like that's what it is. Like we're trying to help people to find their own purpose and then to go live a purpose-driven life filled with meaningful work and meaningful relationships and to help other people to find their purpose and continue to explore that and expand. The author talks about the last stage of the hero's journey is something that Joseph Campbell calls share the elixir. You're familiar with the hero's journey, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that is the final stage, right? The hero sets out, has a problem, solves a problem, goes through whatever his whole journey, and then it's always to come back and share the elixir with everybody else, right? And that's service at the end of the day, right? Like for me, this whole journey started out with a lot of pain with Amelia, searching for what is my plan in this world? Why am I here? Yeah, what's the point, right?
Anything is like you asking yourself, why me? What is happening to me? And so ultimately the question is, what's the point? Same thing for me
Exactly.
is, eventually it's like, well, you can say, hey, what's the point of life with the point? Just what's the point, right? The point
Yeah,
is, whatever it is that you're looking for. So the book, the entrepreneur roller coaster, we're talking about don't miss the point. So
right.
it's about the point. What's
Yeah.
the point, right?
Once you
The
once you
point is
figure that out.
whatever it is that you care about. So what's
Yep.
the point? That's the quest. That's
Yeah.
the quest you're looking for.
Exactly.
What's the point?
And then when you find that, this goes back to what you say all the time of like, what's the point of having $1 trillion if nobody knows about it, you can't spend it, and you can't do anything with it? It's pointless. Well, what's the point of having a purpose if you can't share that with other people and you can't help people with that purpose? So at the end of the day, it always comes down to service and sharing the elixir. And that's what we're doing right now, right? That's what inspired me to start to write these things. That's what inspired you and I to start talking about it, because I wanted to share it with you. And I was like, oh man, I just had this awesome thought that I learned about XYZ and I was writing about blah, blah, blah. And you're like, well, we'll just share it. I'm like, okay, well, great. And then that's how, hey, now we find ourselves 263 of these later,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just a ton of fun. But Jay Shetty started out serving his own pain, going to the ashram. He thought, there was reasons why he went initially, because he thought that life would help him find a life of purpose, and he found purpose while he was in the ashram. But then he decided, look, I think it's time for me to go share it in a different way, and that's how he ended up doing what he's doing. And now you find me writing a reflection about what he learned and what he shared with everybody, and that's what he did with his books and his podcasts and whatever else. And then that's what you and I are doing. I'm writing about it, I'm learning, I'm applying it to life. You are doing the exact same thing, and now we're talking about it, we're sharing it with each other, and we're sharing it with other people, and we're writing these things, and hopefully someday this helps somebody else. It feels like you need to pay it forward. You always need to pay it forward, right? Like that's it. If it helped us, it can help other people potentially, right? And that's what this is all about, is helping each other, sharing the elixir. So yeah, I'd love to get your thoughts on that. And the question was, how are you sharing the elixir with the world? But that's really not necessarily for you, but for other
Mm-hmm.
people, I guess. But yeah, anyway, love to get your thoughts.
So I think that when you service others, you are serving yourself. And if you're serving yourself, you're serving others. And for me, is that I agree with what you say in terms of sharing the elixir, but I don't think you don't need to do that, because you know why you don't need to do that? Because you are compelled to do it.
Oh yeah,
Because
right, yeah.
for me, it's like, it's not about, hey, I need to do this because it was paid for, whatever. No, my gene forces me to do it.
Yeah,
You think about it. The thing is, to me, let me simplify this for you. You don't have to do anything. All you have to do is do what your genes need you to do. It compels you to do it. Like, let's say, like a donkey in the shed. A donkey doesn't need you to shelter it. It needs to be out there doing its thing. So for humans, the reason why we become this kind of species, because the gene that is in the service of others is what makes us the species today. So we are the survivor of those genes. We carry those genes, and those genes say, well, if these genes help me, like we were talking about the woolly mammoth, right? We can't take on a woolly mammoth by ourselves, but we service other by helping a group take down the woolly mammoth. We have taken gains from the kill. And so for these people, like you talk about random genetic mutations, and there's a group of people that's have this gene to say, hey, I'm going to service others. The gene to service others, they survive. The other gene that does not service others, they became extinct. So we are the result of that species. Our gene compels us to serve others. You mean anyone that you talk to, like, okay, if you're talking about, like, let's say a swordsmith, right? What is his job? He said, I make swords. So I have to make the best sword for the best swordsman. Because if I can make the best sword, but there's no swordman to use it, no swordsman to test it, then my life is missing something. It's not fulfilled. So that's why I say, well, why would a person want to say, hey, I gotta make the best sword so I can give it to the best swordsman. So you basically, hey, I'm serving this swordsman, or whatever the case, whatever that your talent is and your genes, for the most part, is, I mean, not even for most part, for all of it, it is to serve others, to do something. So when you do something, is to do something of benefit to somebody.
Right.
And that's a service to us. So for me, it's like, forget about sharing an elixir or pay forward. Yes, that is just another way to label it. But you don't have to do that, because you are compelled to do it anyway. Because if you don't do that, right, then you're missing the point. Like I asked you before, if you have $1 billion but you can't pay it forward, what's the point? How would you feel? I mean, I'm asking, like, people, like, think about it. If you have $1 trillion, you cannot spend it enough, but you can't tell anyone. That is actually worse than not having $1 trillion.
And you can't help anybody with it either. Like, nobody can spend $1 trillion on themselves. At a certain point in time,
no, like, you can't. What are you going to buy?
I don't know.
Buy a country. I mean, you can't buy a country. That's my point, is because certain thing you have, whatever talent you have, it is to do expression of that talent. And the expression of the talent is to serve something. Like, you have $1 billion, you have $1 million, you have $1 trillion. You're gonna do something that helps somebody, because that's gonna give you the goody feeling that you want. That's the gene telling you you're compelled to do. If you don't do it, you can be miserable. So take that same thought and think about the thing that you can do. Like, you can talk to people. Imagine me shutting your mouth up for like a month. You're gonna go crazy. You go ballistic.
That'd be awful. I mean, it really would be awful. At the end of the day, I mean, sharing's addicting. I mean, like, it's a
because your gene compels you.
Yeah,
I just compels you to do that. So what I'm saying is, some people like cake. They're compelled to eat cake. And I say, I just love cake. I can't help myself. I can't control it, because my genes is controlling it. And some people who love to eat frogs, right? I can't help but eat frogs. Like, you look at different animals, they eat different, I guess, different other animals, different food. So they have their own taste. Their gene wants to have those kind of food, and they are compelled to eat it. Whether ducks, they eat the earthworms, like, they just suck it up and they loves it. I mean, You think about it, so you want to eat earthworm that run around? Most people don't want to eat it, but the ducks loves it because its gene compels them to eat it. And so for us, as long as you don't constrain your gene expression, everything else is falls into place. Yes, you can say, hey, pay it forward. That's just like another label. It's not the real reason why you need to pay it forward. You pay it forward because it serves you to pay it
Yeah,
forward.
right. Yeah, right. Like it's. I mean, I told you when I started this whole thing, I was feeling like it was like the best analogy I can give is I felt like I was a dam. Like all this knowledge was flowing in, and at first my dam was super dry, right? Like I mean, after Amelia passed away, the dam was empty. Like it needed to be filled up. But now, like when it got filled up, it was just brimming to the top, and it was like where does like I can't take any more water, you know what I mean?
You think about water doesn't leave,
Right.
no water can come in, and if water doesn't move, it becomes what?
Stagnant and gross, and
Exactly. You don't want that water. You don't
right.
want the stagnant water. So that's the thing for us. We as a human species, like I said, most, if not all, humans are compelled to be of service to somebody. This is why the meaningful relationship exists in this yin and yang cycle of meaningful work, meaningful relationship.
You can only have so much meaningful work before it becomes just too much. If you're just doing it by yourself all day long, even
Right.
it might be intensely meaningful to you, but at a certain point in time, you're like, I've had enough, and I want to share that with somebody else. Otherwise, what's the point? Like you said, it's a
you're missing. Yeah, you're gonna miss the point. The point,
right.
For us as human beings, is the point is to have a life that is fulfilling to the calling. So I mean, I'm gonna quote that because I don't know what that means to everybody. It may mean something different, but take whatever you want to say. You say, hey, what makes you feel like your life is meaningful? Whatever that is, it doesn't matter what it is because it is particular to your individual perspective and way you think your life is. That all that matters. Because if I can say, hey, in life you have to be this person, this characteristic, this whatever, even if you take the standards that society gives you, you're not going to be happy because that's not you. You can't standardize something and say, hey, be measure up to the standards because that isn't you. Even if you live exactly like the standard, you exemplify the model of utopian society, you will think for yourself that, hey, my life isn't worth much because this thing to me isn't meaningful, even though it's meaningful to the eyes of many people, thousand, million, billions of people. But in your eye, if it doesn't seem like it's meaningful, then it is not meaningful, regardless of how many people think it's meaningful.
Yep.
Right. And so whatever you do is your life. Your life means your life has to fulfill a certain action, activity you do that aligns with who you are as a person. Like I told you, if you are a very fit person, you are compelled to be physically active. You just can't say, hey, I'm fit. I don't need to do any more.
I landed in Chicago. Yesterday, I got to Chicago and I had like 3 hours to kill, and it was like a really nice day. But what did I do? I went on. Yeah, I was sitting in my room. I just checked in. The dinner that we were having was at 7. It was like 4 o'clock, and I was like, I could sit in here for 3 hours.
But you can't. If you're physically fit, you can't. Because
I was like,
your body is going to say, hey, this isn't what I want.
Right.
Like you think about it. You think about if you had, okay, oh, I'm fat. I don't need to run. Right? You think about it, and you sit in your room for 3 hours away from for dinner. You think because you're fit, you think that you have to waste 3 hours.
Yep.
See what I'm saying? If it is doesn't align with who you are, it's a waste for you.
Right.
And so the thing is, for us, whatever you do that aligns with you, it's going to be meaningful. And because of what you do, it is going to be a service or a benefit to someone. It's not going to be everyone, but it's going to be someone. And that's the point. All you have to do is allow yourself to be you. A beaver must dam. Just let the beaver do the dam, right? Build the dam. And the sharing the elixir, the hero's journey, all that, it is going to happen. You can't avoid it.
Right. It's just a byproduct. you honestly can't live a purpose-driven life unless you are sharing that purpose with other people. Like
Exactly. And because
it's not
the reason for
possible.
that is because that's a gene that makes us the survivor of the species.
Right.
Because the gene that's in those that doesn't have this gene that wants to service people, they did not survive. They extinct. So the only one that still exists today is the people who want to be of service to
Not
somebody, right?
Everybody, then it's just preachy. Like it's obnoxious and preachy. If it's to the narrow audience that you can, like Jay's audience is, even though he's got a lot of people that follow his like show and probably read his book, he's got a large audience. It's still a narrow audience. It's not like everybody wants to know how to think like a monk, and live in a purpose-driven life and how he can help. Like there's a select, who knows what our audience is, I guess, the clubby message would resonate with. There's definitely people out there. It's the long tail, right? The fathead and the long tail. This is a long tail, when you're sharing your purpose, there's a lot of people out there that are sharing the purpose, but like if it's the long tail, like, of purpose sharing at this point in time, there's always somebody out there that you can help with the message you give them, if it is a byproduct of you living your purpose. I'm a firm believer
you cannot help it. I'm telling you, you can't help it, because regardless of whether you do something, like if you live, right, if you live your purpose, you live your values, you becomes a beacon.
Right.
And a beacon is going to be seen by somebody, and that's going to get copied, right? And then that's going to get copied, because that's the gene of the Homo sapien, is for us to be able to copy. Like we're talking about the monkeys and the kindergarten kids or whatever, the babies, right?
Right.
I mean, once one person is able to figure out the
Right.
puzzle, everybody gets it, because we are compelled to share that, right? And so for us, this is why I said we as a human species, we love storytelling. I mean, we love to tell stories. We love to hear stories, and everybody does it. I have not come across a single person that does not love those, because it's not about they can decide. It's you're compelled to do it, because your gene has that. You have that gene, and so for us, we love to teach. It's not to teach in the general sense of teaching, school. It's to pass on the knowledge, because you're talking about the monkeys, right? They're trying to test a group of monkeys and a group of toddlers, right? And so they are testing doing an experiment. The monkeys have more creative ways to figure out how to solve the problem. The kids are far behind. But once one toddler figure out the solution to the problem, everybody gets it right away. And because that's in our gene, that is what we call the teaching. In my opinion, that's a teaching. We love to teach.
Sharing the
because
elixir.
Exactly. If you have money, you're gonna want to be able to be of service to somebody.
Yeah.
It's not everybody.
Like,
It's not the world, but it's somebody. Because like I say, if you have $1 trillion, but you can't tell anyone, that is the hardest thing. I mean, that's the same thing. I mean, telling is sharing. Hey, Chris, I just got this great idea I want to share, right? Or I have this good news I want to share. Why you want to do that? Because you want them to also benefit it too. You want to share the elixir. So that, to me, it is built into a gene. You don't have to consciously say, hey, I need to remember to share the elixir. You don't need to worry about it.
It's compulsory. Like
Genes compels you.
When we were doing this, like, when we started this whole entire thing, I remember this feeling, because we were on a call and I was like, I just want to tell you, like, and you're like, okay, tell me. And I was like, okay. Like, and I was like, here, I'll share my screen really fast, and I would show you the book and the reflection and whatever. And like, I mean, I couldn't keep it in. I was like, what is the point of learning these things like this? Like, what is the point of learning about Think Like a Monk and sharing the elixir if I can't share it with somebody and or other people? Like, what is the point? Like I said, at the very beginning of this whole journey, I needed to fill my dam reservoir back up again, right? And like but it's always been selfish. It was selfish at the beginning, because I was trying to heal from, losing my daughter. And then it's selfish now because I want to share her with other people and share what we've learned together and share our journeys together. It's selfish for both ways, right? But the sharing side of it is a great byproduct, because it can help. When you were saying about infecting almost like the group of babies, and like when one of them gets it, the toddlers, when one of them gets it, they all get it. The team that I have now today and what we've done with, like, trying to meaningful work and value driven, stuff that we do in the company, kind of ecosystem. They get it. They absolutely get it now at this point in time. Like they are going to take that to the rest of their careers, because they like it.
And they'll pass it on. I guarantee you, they'll pass it on because that's what we do. Because I'm saying the genes compels you. The genes compels you.
I'll show you something interesting. One of my favorite employees that when you talk about getting it, there's a few of them that really get it.
We shouldn't single out the favorites. No, I'm just kidding. I'm pulling your leg, man.
Oh yeah. No. Well, I was going to show you this email. His name is James, and his partner, her name's Gracie, and they're not married. I guess they're dating, fiance, whatever. I don't think they're engaged yet either. They've just been dating for a long time. James is somebody that has really taken to. James would be somebody we'd want in Clubany, ASAP, if we had the full Clubany, right? 100%. He would absolutely eat it up and love it and be an amazing ambassador for everything that I want to try to do anyway. And he helps other people so much. Anyway, so his girlfriend, Gracie, hears him talking about this stuff all the time, right? So here's the email that I got the other day. I was on a one-on-one with him and he was like, hey, would you be open to talking to my girlfriend about some of the stuff? Because she just wanted to pick your brain about some things and yada, yada. And I was like, yeah, of course. So she sends me this email. And it's like, I've never met her yet. She's like, whenever you get back from that conference you guys were at, she's like, just want a short chat, potentially some advice. James shared some of your wisdom with me and I appreciate your time. And as recently graduated 20-something, he's trying to figure life out. We'll love to learn about the stuff that you're teaching James. We have a call scheduled tomorrow to go talk about this stuff.
Meaningful work for you. This is the thing is you're looking forward. You're looking forward to sharing the elixir because this is allowing the genes to live, the life versus forcing the genes to, hey, be this person, constrain yourself, reserve, blah, blah, blah. If the marshmallow is there and you want the marshmallow, eat the fucking marshmallow. Exactly. Versus, hey, no elephant, you cannot have this marshmallow. I have to be reserved. I have to be blah, blah, blah. That's so hard to do. That's what creates pressure. You think about it, when you stopping yourself from being yourself, it's create pressure.
It's misery too. There's a bunch
that's what I'm saying is misery is self-inflicted.
It is. There's a bunch of tasks that I have to do in this job that I don't want to do. And I just don't do it anymore. Honestly, I don't care. I just stopped doing stuff that I don't want to do. I've never done this ever in any job. I swear to you, True, after my one-on-ones these days, which are really heavy Monday and Tuesday. Yeah, I have some on Thursdays a pretty heavy just work meeting day. But if you're talking about just work that I'm trying to do, if it doesn't involve them and it doesn't involve doing this stuff, I just don't do it anymore. And I don't even care. Because this is my job.
You don't get no motivation to do the other stuff. Once you see you are the meaningful work and the other ones say, man, I don't want to do it.
No, I dread it. I go, oh, this sucks, fine, I'll do it, or whatever. But I'm getting so much better through this journey of saying, you know what? No, I'm not, this doesn't help anybody. This is not my vital priority. The reason why I'm here is to help these people, to help them to live a value-driven life, and to bring that out of them and help them to make this work meaningful or not, and to help them to decide. So I told you about the conversation with Chelsea, another one that I was like, she would be an amazing Clubany member fit right away. They're the one that told me, ever since the switch, what do we do? And we already have come up with solutions. And I talked to another team that I was like, I think she'd be a great fit for this because that would be more meaningful work for her. And they were immediately like, yeah, I think she'd be a great fit. Let's talk. I'm talking with him on Friday. I'm talking with him tomorrow about helping Chelsea to go find other meaningful work within the organization in another area that more aligns to her, right? And we both know it, right? She's miserable. She's like, I don't want to do this stuff. And but I don't want to not work for you. And I don't want to not work at this company because I like this stuff. I like the culture. Now, it remains to be seen. This is my culture.
Right. So
I don't know how that's going to work. Right. Yeah. But, TBD on that. But, one of my other employees that got promoted to another team, he still talks to me all the time because his boss isn't a great boss because his boss is kind of doing two jobs, and he's really a seller, and he's not really a sales manager. He's kind of like a player coach, really. So he doesn't get a whole lot of anything, really. He's kind of just on his own, and nobody wants to be on their own, right? Number one. But number two, for me and him, all we ever talked about was, how are you bringing your values out? How are you doing this stuff? How are you doing that? And he likes this stuff, right? That was how he ended up getting promoted into another role. But now we still have one-on-ones every week because he's like, I just want to talk to you, and make sure that we're staying aligned and picking your brain about stuff, and I'm like, great, that's fine. And that's what matters.
I think your company needs a culture officer.
They do.
Like,
Yeah. I think
which is exactly become a culture officer that you can build a culture for the whole company. Because the thing is,
right.
once you have that, when you build that, that means that anywhere that any other employee want to transition over to will still have the culture. Because right
Yes.
now you have these people that love the culture because of the passion of what they do. They excel at it. Because they
Right.
excel at it, they get promoted. But once
Right.
they get promoted, they
Then
lose the
it's
culture.
then
And
then
so
they lose
it's
culture. Yeah, it
for
is.
them it's
Yeah.
a trade, and that isn't a promotion.
I agree with you, and they know it too, right? I can't even begin to tell you how many of these people of my own team have told me, like, you know, if you left, I would leave in a heartbeat, and I don't mean that to be like pumping myself up or something like that. They're right.
Mm-hmm.
I would do the same thing too. If they weren't here, I would be. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Right, because it doesn't create meaningful work because there's no meaningful relationship. It's a yin and yang, right? You have to have both present. If one of them is missing, the other one will exist. It's a package deal. If you have a culture officer that can build a culture like company, you can transition to any place you want. And there's no limit to what you can transition to because in the company, there's not a fixed role for anywhere. I said, just do whatever you want. Why? Just go do that.
right.
So I think it's the ideal
Work
environment.
environment. Yeah. You know what's awesome about this whole thing, like with OSF and the team that I've been leading, the work that's being put in for this group of people, for the majority of them, like I guarantee you, if I was like, hey, I'm gonna go do this for real, do you want to come? I almost can't imagine any of them saying no, to be honest with you. And talk about perpetuating the culture. They already get it. They already understand it.
Right.
They've already done it. They've already gone through their core values quest. They already understand every single thing, and they're going to be willing and able to go do this stuff and help us to go recruit other people and to bring
And they're
them
gonna
in there,
they're gonna yearn to. So that
Exactly.
means that because, like I say, if they get promoted to another company, they're gonna yearn for that conversation with you.
Yeah.
My one-on-one with somebody who understands me and who can share the ups and downs, right? And that's the meaningful relationship. Because that's the thing is, when you get promoted to another group, you're gonna try to spark that new culture there. And there's two things that can happen. Well, at least two things can happen. The first thing is they're going to accept and change, or they're going to reject, right? Normally they're going to reject because they already have their own culture, whatever that culture is. Meaning, like, either you choose a culture and it chooses you, right? So most people will reject the new ideas. So the person who moves into that, they're going to yearn to spread this new culture that they so much yearn for. One thing is, if a culture is adaptive, that can happen. They can spark like wildfire. They can start to grow. But some culture are pretty strong, and then they resist. And so if they resist, then that person is not gonna like the new environment because they already tasted the cake. They don't want to eat the frog.
Yep.
And that's hard. A lot of times they don't last because even though they get promoted, they don't last in a culture where they cannot thrive. And so this is the reason why your team members get promoted is because they thrive in it. And they get to eat the cake all day, whatever that is, get to eat the cake all day. So they're gonna thrive. They're gonna do things better, faster.
Because they like
Right.
it.
And so the environment and culture is important for that meaningful relationship. Without that, it is very hard. And it's a shame that companies are not very adaptive to changing the culture. And sometimes it's a good and bad thing. But if a culture isn't, I think I don't know if the culture of the company, because then when your boss, who left already, hires you, you told him about what you're gonna do, right? And he was interested in it. And
yeah,
I mean,
he wanted me to spread a culture around, like, and he was like, well, we don't have one, and he's right, like, we don't.
It's just not what they want.
The
culture. Yeah. So it's like space. You can fill it with one type of air. If you don't fill it with one type of air, other air will take it. So it's not like you can say, hey, you don't have a culture.
There is a culture.
You have a culture.
Right.
Culture is like air, or like a gas. It'll fill the space.
Right. In any group of people, there are norms that govern their behavior, without a doubt. Whether they are consciously decided is a different,
Either they're conscious of it or they don't like it, right? That's a different story. Because if you don't fill the space with the kind of gas you want, other gas will fill, and you don't get to choose what gas is nearby, right? And so the culture is always there. Like I say, if the culture isn't strong, then the new person say, well, I love to be like this, right? And so they can start to spread that culture. But some culture will put it strong, saying, I don't like changes. I like the way it is, blah, blah, blah. Or even people complain all the time and they hate the culture. So in a toxic culture, the toxic culture is actually a very, very strong culture.
Mhm.
Because you can't actually get rid of this toxic.
Right.
Because even though people hate it, once it catches on, it sticks.
Right.
It is very hard to get rid of toxic cultures. Even though you think about, hey, if it's toxic, people wouldn't want it, so they would want to adopt something new. That's not how human nature works.
Right. You just gave me I think I'm going to go talk to our CEO, and I think I should explain to him what I've been doing and say, I do want to be our chief cultural officer. Let's create a role that I'm uniquely suited for at this point in time through all the stuff that we've been doing. And let's see if we can do this at a bigger scale, because I know what I've been doing. You know what I've been doing because we've already done it together. I have a blueprint, and it's been about a year now of doing this stuff, and the results are there. My team has a low attrition rate. There's only been one person that's ever left, and that was because their job changed and they didn't want to leave. They literally told me, I don't want to leave, but I don't want to do this job. I don't have another choice.
Meaningful work. If you have the ability to service that person, meaning bring them into a different job that it fits them. Just like the Josie, right? Josie said, "Hey, I don't like this job. Oh, can you give me advice to find some place that I'm better fit?" Just like the other person, he doesn't like the job. He likes the group, the team, but he doesn't like the job. So it's like for me, hey, I can talk to you all day long, right? I love collaborating, but if you tell me to go sell, then I'm out. I hate it. You know what I mean? So I love company. I just don't like the work. But if you say, hey, go build me this, whatever, I'm a builder. I love to build, so I'll go build. So that's the thing is, you can love the team, but you don't. I mean, team becomes your meaningful relationship, but the work has to come in as well. Without that, then you're not going to be happy. And so if you can affect the whole coach, the whole team, the whole company as a culture, when somebody is getting promoted or getting transition, they're not trading the promotion for the meaningful relationship that they yearn for. And I think that's critical, because I think if they go to the new position, they're gonna yearn that connection, and they don't have the connection. One thing can happen is they're going to regress in terms of how well they perform their job, or they're going to quit because it's not what I want. I'm miserable, even though I have better pay or whatever. They're going to say, "Well, I can't last," because it takes so much willpower to maintain that state. Unless the state is something, hey, it gives you energy. If it takes away energy, eventually it will get depleted. Depending on how much energy reserve you have, you may last longer or less depending on that reserve of your willpower. And so I think it is very crucial to have the two. Because for me, if I'm not trained in company, then when I get a promotion, for me, I think it's a positive thing. Right now, I understand about company and how culture and meaningful work and meaningful relationship goes together. If you give me a promotion, I'm going to say, well, wait a minute, am I trading out something? I'm not going to immediately think of all the positive, because I'm thinking about giving up something. Because the thing is, if you're not well versed with what we talk about over the past 2 years, right? A promotion seems like a positive thing to put forward. But if you think about it, if it's not the culture you want, then it's actually a step back.
It is. No, it really is, actually. Which is why, like, what I would need to do if I did get that, if I did create this job for me, is I would have to go train all the senior leaders.
Everybody, as a chief
just
culture
senior leaders. They would have to go do their own core values quest. I would check in with them every night, do exactly what I do with my team.
Right. It's a top down, because you have your own team, and they have their own team, and they have their own team. This is what you call affecting from the top down, because you can't go and have a connection with everyone. You only have the layers you're on. Like if you're the CCO, right? You're the chief culture officer, you're CCO. So you're going to train all the O's, all the C's, right? Whatever C's in there, that's your peers. You get them culturally fit. And then they have their own team. They go and train their directors, VP, whatever. The next,
then it cascades.
And then it cascade down and say, hey, these are the culture we want. So that means that everyone has the same culture, and anyone in any level can move laterally or upward, wherever you want to go. We're still not trading the culture for the meaningful work.
You know, it's interesting what you just said, because you do need to have people that train other people. It's almost like a priest, right? You need to have somebody that has ownership over a congregation. Let's call it the law of 150 people or whatever it is, right? You know, like that's probably why churches have congregation sizes they have and why they're all spread out all over the place. And they all kind of do their own thing, but you need somebody that has been trained. A priest is really the chief cultural ambassador,
So
you know,
so you
smaller
you
segregation.
have the CMO, right? So what's below CMO? VP of sales.
Well,
What
yeah,
well,
CRO.
it
Yeah.
doesn't matter. I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
care. In general, you
Right.
have layers of
Right.
the same functions. So in a culture, a CPO will have their own representative, whatever you want to call it,
Mhm.
their own ambassador. Let's say CCO guys under is like VP of ambassador, director of ambassador, and ambassador itself, right? Those are in all the groups, right? Because they're in there and that's what they do. Just for example, in all the projects, there's a project manager. So why does each project, each team has a project manager? Because they need to manage the project. In each team, you need an ambassador, a coaching ambassador, because you need to build, those are
Yeah,
the guy that does the one-on-one. A coaching ambassador is a coaching ambassador. That's a separate role,
it is.
right? If the team lead or whoever is on a team is not the right kind of, it's not the meaningful work for them, there is a culture ambassador for that team. So you
Right.
go to each of the team, there is going to be that one person that basically the glue of the team,
Right.
right? So that's the ambassador we're talking about. That's the priest you're talking about.
Right. Right. This would be an interesting. I've been looking for a new challenge, so this will be fun. I'm gonna go ask this. I like what are they gonna say? No, I'm gonna say, look, you want to know? It's a really unique culture that we've been building on my team, and it aligns to the overall organization's cultures as well. You know, it doesn't. It's not somehow different than the values that are stated by your business. All I'm doing is connecting the values of the business to the values of the leader to the values of the people, and rolling it all the way up versus it just being a one-way flow down. Anyway. Why the fuck not? I mean, I'm getting bored in this job,
basically,
like
it's a culture. A CCO is the maestro of the orchestra.
exactly. Yeah. I mean, you got to have somebody that can own that and know that it's going to be standardized, that it's going to be understood. The ideas and the principles behind it needs to be understood by the key people that need to be able to continue to feed that down. And those people
It's
need to,
orchestration.
it's orchestration.
I mean, like, hey, one
At
person over
scale.
here, right, has this talent, doesn't like this job. You
Right.
orchestrate. It's
Like
you're the maestro of the orchestration,
we
right?
filter those people up, right? We don't need to fire this person. Like, we don't need to say this isn't a fit and get out of here. Like, we need to say you're a great cultural ambassador, and you do a great job. You align to the culture that we want to be here. How we want to operate here, and you find this work to be meaningful. We don't want to take away your opportunity for meaningful work because you only have meaningful relationships here. Like, that's what companies do. Is they say, oh, great, this work isn't totally in alignment, but you're a great meaningful relationship. But when push comes to shove, meaningful work always wins because it's about money, right? If you're not producing exactly what needs to be done at that level, then meaningful relationships be damned, or cultural ambassador be damned. It's a bad decision.
You can't have both, because if you don't have meaningful relationship, you cannot have meaningful work, because you won't stay there. Because when you do the work,
Chelsea wouldn't stay there if I
and you
didn't find
can't
another.
share, right? She's not going to excel at that role. She is going to fall out of that role.
She would leave. Either she would leave or I would have to fire her.
She get bored, right? She yearn for something. So she is not focused on the job and doing the meaningful work, because she's missing the meaningful relationship, and vice versa. Inside of your group, right? She have meaningful relationship, but she hates the work. So she said, well, I love to talk to Chris one-on-one. I love all these self-help development and self-reflection and all that. And I feel great, but I dread it doing the work. So even though I'm really good at it right now, but eventually it's going to take a toll on me and become exhausted, because I need so much willpower to get this kind of performance. So the performance at Chelsea is going to be top. And the only way for her is downward. She's going to always regress, because you think about it, right now she has the energy because she's new at it, right? Eventually she's going to say, well, it's not worth it. I'm going to do less. Well, how can you have profits if the person who's working for you is not running on 8 cylinders? right? You can't. That's what I'm saying. You have to have both, because you think, say, oh, I need you to do this job because money matters. Well, then if money matters, then you need to put her in a position where she have both.
Right.
That is because if you take one or the other, eventually you're gonna lose the money. You're gonna lose the profits, because if your goal as a company is to make profit, is you want to build these guys up so that, and you orchestrate them into places where they have both meaningful work and meaningful relationship, they will excel and they will be driven and motivated by themselves to do the work, and they're going to challenge themselves to get better and better and better.
That's what
Or
the
the
performance
reverse.
reviews. That's what the performance review should be. Is do you have meaningful work? Like, that's a meaningful work review and a meaningful relationship review. That's exactly what performance review should become. Because if the work isn't meaningful and you have questions you ask and you check, that's the performance review. Fuck the, what's the potential of this person? What are areas they do well? What are areas they do bad? You ask them, is the work meaningful? Great. Are the relationships meaningful? Great. Then your performance review is stellar. Like if how's your balance? Maybe that's your performance review.
Yeah.
If it's a 5, then we need to fucking change something, or you need to leave. Like, maybe this culture isn't the right culture for you. It brings up the conversation. That's how this whole conversation with Chelsea started. I didn't ask her. I had observed, some of these trends that she did bring up, but most people would never tell you that. Most people aren't going to come to you and say, this is how I'm feeling and here's why, because they don't know that trust isn't there. She trusts me because she knows what I care about and she knows what matters to me. And because she had this conversation with me, like, I can help her now go find meaningful work again in the organization, right? But if she didn't trust me and she thought this was just a transactional work environment, she would have just left.
She wouldn't dare, telling you, because she's gonna afraid that
she think I would fire her. Yeah, right. I mean, like, any boss would have been like, oh, well, great, we'll cross Chelsea off the list. She's out of my long-term plans. Like, I don't fucking care about her. You know what I mean? Like, she's done. She's out. You might as well fire her next week. You know what I mean? Like, I'm already hiring for another person.
This is like shooting yourself in your foot, because that's why people maintain this different image other than themselves. They put on this mask and pretend to be someone else.
Right.
Can only last for so long. It cannot last long. I mean, you need incredible amount of willpower to put on that mask and keep it for a time. Mm-hmm. And to me, I don't know. I can't do it, because for me, if I see it's not worth the time, I just won't put the effort in it. It's not. If it's not, then I don't want to waste even a single ounce of my willpower on it. That's why I love the concept of the wonderful train, because I just picked them up right away, and I couldn't be happier.
Yep. It just makes sense.
I mean, that's the thing, is being yourself and being comfortable with who you are. That allows you to grow. If you put on a mask, you just can't grow. I mean, I don't know if that makes sense, but if you pretend to be somebody else, you can't grow. But if you can be yourself, then yeah, you will grow. And that's what I'm saying, is when your employee has both meaningful work and relationship and can be themselves, the only way they're going to go is up. They're going to get better and better and better. If they don't have that, the only way they can go is either stay the same, which you have a lot of willpower, or they're going to
stuck in the dip. You're in a cul-de-sac, and
majority of the people will regress. Yeah. This is why people don't work at a job for a long time. For one is, for the most part, like the people who work at a job for 20 years, they actually don't do much, because they have to create this template or this process, and they just basically go through the motion again. They're not growing. Even if they say, well, I make the same amount of sales quota, blah, blah, blah. You are actually regressing, because the experience you gather and all the template, all the previous work is actually stacking up. That means that if you actually don't grow or having increase in your sales quota, you are actually regressing. Because like I say, if let's say I'm going to create this pipeline potential prospect, where I go to HubSpot, I build on the pipeline, well, that is residual on the tail end, right? Mm-hmm. So that means that if you continue to perform in the same level, you are actually regressing. And if you decline in the sales quota, you are regressing accelerated. Yep. Right? That means that you are exhausted.
It's awful. Yeah, no, it's not fun. And then when they leave. All right, we got to put a pin on it because we're way over time, but that was fun as usual. That concludes part 5 of 5, Think Like a Monk. It's a good book. I recommend it. Go check it out. Obviously, I wouldn't have written 5 reflections about it if I didn't. So really enjoyed it. Hope you guys enjoyed the conversation about it. We'll be on to a new book on Monday. And the question we can leave for you all is, how are you sharing the elixir with the world? Hopefully, if you have a purpose, like you're probably already sharing the elixir anyway, but I'm curious to learn. If you're not, then you probably don't have a purpose yet. Like, once again, you don't need to go find pain to go, whatever. Like that's a whole nother conversation. But if you do have the ability to share the elixir, how are you doing that? And I'd love to learn.
The question is, do you even have the elixir?
Right. That's fair.
What is the elixir? I mean,
right.
Through the hero's journey, you have to find the elixir. But what's the elixir? The elixir is you. Yes. You are the beacon of what you do. And your beacon, what you do, is an elixir to somebody. But you cannot share it if you don't know it. Because what I see when I talk to a lot of people is they really have 2 sets of like profile. Like they have a public profile and a private profile, right? Meaning like in a public setting, they put on this new facade of, hey, I'm this kind of person. I'm well-mannered, polite. And when they talk to the comrade, they say, hey, what's up? And they will do whatever thing that makes them natural, and they're happy with their friends. So they have those 2 personalities, right? My point is, most people, majority of the time, is wearing that mask. Mm-hmm. So like, I would say like 60 to 70% of the time in their life, they're wearing the mask. And to me, that's not elixir.
Agree. Yeah.
Right. So do you have the elixir yet?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Secondary question you can ask on this one for sure, or primary question.
That's the primary question.
Yeah, primary. This is a secondary one, the one we have written down there. I love that. It's a great call out and something to think about for everybody. And we will see you come
Monday. Sounds good. See you guys.